What is that, Mum?
It's a rodent of unusual size.
What is it, Mum?
A rodent of unusual size. Can you say that?
Unusual size. Where did it go? Maybe it's following them.
Rodents of unusual size? I don't think they exist.
What did he say? What's he doing? What's he gonna do? Here you go. Here you go. What's he gonna do? Here you go. What's he gonna do? What's that gonna do?
Well, they're fighting. I think he's trying to eat him.
Do they got owies? What's... Oh, wow! Mommy, what's happening to him?
Oh, he's killing it.
It's dead.
I think it's dead. Hey.
How did it get dead?
He stabbed him with the sword.
What was that, Mom?
That was a rodent of unusual size.
This is Let Me Sum Up, your regular deep dive into recent reports on climate and energy. I'm Luke Menzel, recording on Wurundjeri land, and I'm joined for this special holiday spectacular by my two regular co-hosts, Global Vice President for Mistletoe and Eggnog at the Let Me Sum Up podcast, Frankie Muskovich. Hello, Frankie.
As you wish, Menzel. As you wish.
Getting in early.
Yeah, oh, there's so many to get through. We just needed to head that one off at the pass, and then we can go to the more boutique, bespoke quotes from our favourite movie altogether. It's nice to see you guys.
It is wonderful to see you. And yes, this is the special holiday spectacular in which we talk about a movie rather than a report. Eagle-eared listeners at home have probably worked out what that movie is already. But before we get to that, I need to introduce a man who's been spending his holidays mixing up some very strong fantasy-themed cocktails. It is Tennant Reid. G'day, Tennant.
Why, hello. And yes, I have been working my way through Puncheons and Flagons, the Dungeons and Dragons cocktail book. But I am a complete lightweight, and the working through is going rather slowly. Candlekeep tea, which I think is an off-brand Long Island iced tea, practically laid me out horizontally after one small glass. You got to sample some, Luke. What did you think?
I thought it was delicious. Had a swig of that after an onerous D&D session over at your place. It was very refreshing, but very alcoholic, I can report.
Yeah. Really worryingly small amount of water in it.
I think the first and only time I've tried mead was in your house too.
Yep. There you go. There's a theme developing.
Yeah.
But perhaps we should draw a curtain over that. For this, our fourth annual holiday spectacular, we are once again skipping the report and discussing a movie, classic romance, swashbuckler, fantasy, adventure, The Princess Bride. But first, before we get to that fun and frivolity, there is serious business afoot because we need to dive into the fourth annual Wonky Awards, our gong for the best climate and energy paper of the year. The process is simple. We each nominate something we covered on the podcast, make a case for it, and then we discuss, we debate, we come to a conclusion live on the episode. There is no pre-approved wonky winner. We're going to duke it out, and there's been some early interventions. before we started recording that suggests the conversation could be quite willing. The only thing that I wanted to note on the way through in terms of any rules lawyering that our listeners may wish to do is that two of the nominees that we're going to talk about today, not technically papers.
Oh, yeah.
But they are things that we covered on the podcast. So
Well,
I'm going to call that okay.
but because it suits me, I think they should be disqualified. And we should go with my choice.
This may be why I'm getting this out of the way up front.
Wow. Frankie's taking a scorched earth approach.
I think you could replay every one of these holiday episodes over the last 3 years and find a similar quote from you, Reid, because I think my strategy is basically to declare victory at the outside and then see who wants to fight me over it.
I'm just an eternal dewy-eyed optimist coming to this with a message of universal peace and love and siblinghood.
No.
And I'm shocked to discover that the Frankie juggernaut is going to roll right over me.
Well, let's just see about that. I think we should get into it. Who wants to go first? Who wants to make their pitch? Who's feeling confident?
Well, I'm happy to make the devastatingly rebellious and, frankly, intimidatingly obscure pick. As a public intellectual, it is my duty to bring unseen gems to the eye of the public. And that's why I want to highlight a little book called Abundance.
I can't believe
Now,
it.
you may not have heard of this work by Derek
What are you doing, Tennant?
and Ezra
What are you
Klein. But it's about how we should have more nice things and how we can, at a limited high level of generality. Of course, it is a very much talked about, over-talked about, maybe underread, but widely displayed. Maybe it's the brief history of time of 2025, book that has greatly influenced the discourse in Australia, as much as its home and actually intended jurisdiction, the United States. And so even though some of us on this podcast thought it was a bit underdone in terms of the ideas and just the fleshing out of solutions to the problems that it identifies, I'm putting it forward on the same basis that Time magazine named Hitler Man of the Year a couple of times, which is that it's not.
I don't like this book,
Wow.
but that's strong
not
stuff.
about who's the best. It's about who's done the most to shape the headlines.
I don't know
And-
that that's true, Tennant. I mean, maybe every year we debate what it is we're actually awarding the Wonky for.
Yes, we do.
I'm saying what it is in my mind right now. I'm making a case for it, frankly. It's a big deal, and whether you like it or not, its dealness remains big. We are living in a world where the explicit, like, hating on and opposing abundance is a big deal, just as the explicit referencing, often by people who probably haven't read past the first chapter of it, is a big deal. It's just very influential, and therefore inescapably is a candidate for Paper of the Year, despite, yes, Luke, not being a paper.
So, do you think more people have actually read Abundance in Australia or listened to our podcast about Abundance?
Well, all the best people have listened to our podcast.
Controversial.
And with that flattery deployed, audience listening right now, you're on my side on this, aren't you? That whole thing about citing Time magazine and Hitler, that's just been gently let go.
You know,
And all you remember is the warm glow of
no.
our opinion of you.
I can see the impact on the discourse argument, like it is very unusual for something in our little corner of the world to kind of like, jump the lane into mainstream debate, like mainstream journalists actively referencing abundance and the influence it's having, particularly around the Treasurer's Economic Roundtable. How much influence can it have if people actually haven't read it and don't actually understand
This is true.
what is in the book?
Tell that to Karl Marx, Luke.
Is the influence the book itself, or is it the idea of the book?
I think it's the idea of the book and people's own projections about what they think is in the book without actually having read it. Just to reinforce that point, so many of the folks that we run into around the traps in Canberra said, no, I haven't read Abundance, I just heard about what's in it and I don't need to go any further with it. It's a vibe. I think the vibe is the thing that's affecting the discourse, not the actual contents of the book itself. And if I might, just to put one extra nail in the coffin of this contender.
I'm not sure I agree with that characterisation of the last 3 minutes, but speak on.
I think the worthiest way of judging this is actually by its relative popularity in our merch offering. And I'll have you know that the number of T-shirts we've sold on the it was a "No, I haven't read Abundance, that's what podcasts are for" themed T-shirt. I think maybe we sold 2 T-shirts of that to our entire listenership.
I think they were possibly at least one of them
is
was
in your
to my
family. So, whereas
And the other was to me.
Oh God! So actually, none of our listeners rate this enough to buy appropriately themed merch. However, the far and away winner on the merch front, which gives me great joy, was the More Sufficiency Now T-shirt, which has gone gangbusters.
I can see a much more straightforward way of adjudicating the wonkies in the future, which is we just make merch associated with each contender and see how many of each T-shirt.
Yeah.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Point of order. I will now issue this point of order in Russian, transitioning to fluent Spanish, which will say, Frankie, the evidence you've just laid out, given that More Sufficiency Now did not represent a paper, is conclusive evidence that Abundance is the leading T-shirt related paper property. It's won the single and only point available in that leg of the judging of the wonky triathlon.
I disagree with that. We did do a sufficiency themed paper, and then it took a while for us to do the related merch offering. But no, I'm calling you up on a reverse point of order. I reject your point of order, Reid.
Hang on.
Somebody save us from endlessly protracted proceduralism.
Yes, let's do that. I don't think you're on very strong ground, Tennant, but let's see where we get to.
Lightning sand beneath all of us in the fire swamp of this podcast.
Yes, and rats of unusual size incoming. I'm going to make the case for Marianne Wilkinson's quarterly essay, Woodside versus the Planet, how a company captured a country. This is, of course, a chronicle of Woodside's origins going back to the 1960s and the really codependent relationship that has been created between the company and successive governments. And I really think this essay is it's kind of a tour de force. There is a lot of discussion about the influence of the fossil fuel sector on our politics, but the discussion can be a bit amorphous and ungrounded. But by picking this one company and sort of cataloguing its influence in this one state, focusing in on the way it has become completely intertwined with the politics and the economic interests and the social fabric of WA, I think that Marianne was able to make like a much bigger point, that there are some fundamental conflicts of interest that skew the debate around the fossil fuel sector in this country, and we need to think carefully about how we untangle all of that. The other thing that I really liked about the essay was it was able to paint a very sensitive and nuanced picture of the relationship between Woodside and First Nations people, which is a complex relationship, and it also, on the way through, provides a perspective from the activists that are trying to shift the status quo, while at the same time illustrating just how up against it they are. So it's strong stuff. For those of you that haven't yet read it, I thoroughly recommend adding it to your summer reading list. And I commend it to both of you as a very worthy winner of the 2025 Wonky Award.
I really liked this quarterly essay. It was a great read.
And Tenet?
Where's the bulldozer, Muscovic?
No, I'm not going to do that on this one.
Oh, it falls to me.
I mean, look, I think maybe because it suits my purposes, I'm taking a slightly more purist view of the kind of material that I want to reward with a wonky this year in terms of influence on policy. And I think what is very useful for people who, like us, who don't live in WA and I think sort of self-described as, East Coast wankers, trying to understand what the whole kind of thing was around Woodside and how pervasive the influence of big companies like that are in the culture of a state that's sort of so reliant on resources for its wealth and prosperity. So it provided a lot of insight on that front, and I think did a service then to the rest of the country who pays attention to this stuff to get a better understanding of how companies like this build influence over generations. And kind of very broadly across politics and the media. So there's warnings in that for everyone. I guess it sort of lays out the challenge, where it kind of falls a little short for me, but I wouldn't necessarily say it as a criticism because I don't think it was intended to sort of lay out all of the solutions, that are required to address the outsized influence of companies like that. There are obvious things, but that's not really unpacked really in any great detail. But I did really like the insight from particularly the First Nations communities that were so very much at the heart of some of the disputes that have been going on.
I thought that this was a great work of reportage. I still have the grumpiness that I had those several months ago about the fact that it repeatedly raises the idea of a climate campaigning that is principally focused on blocking the supply or development of supply of fossil fuels without ever really interrogating whether that is a good idea, both in a policy sense and in a politics sense, and how successful that strategy has been. But it is that is not really the thing that essay is trying to do. It also would have been an interesting thing. But is an essay a paper? Meaningless proceduralism. We're back to this.
I think once the contenders have entered the ring, they are in the ring and they are duking it out.
There's no rules inside the Thunderdome.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. The time to knock them out was before we started this conversation. So I think that all of these contenders are valid entries into the Wonky Awards. Well,
in that chainsaw-wielding, blood-soaked, no-holds-barred spirit, Frankie, what have you got for us?
Coming for you guys. I'm going to put it out there, but I think this is a foregone conclusion. I'm going to start by introducing my paper by invoking the title that we gave the episode that we recorded to cover this one. The episode was called Unlimited Power, Cackle, Energy Wonks Calculating Australia's Clean Trade Opportunity. And I am, of course, referring to the new energy trade Harnessing Australian Renewables for Global Development from Reuben Finighan at the Superpower Institute. This has been, I think, it was a cracker of a report. I think I remember the conversation the three of us had, all of us being just really impressed at, I think the way we'd categorised it as the time was this was the first kind of really detailed piece of work that followed from, this idea of Australia being a renewable energy superpower that Ross Garnaut in particular had kind of seeded and written a book about, but this put some real meat on the bones in terms of quantitative analysis around what that would look like. And there were just so many compelling things and novel insights, I think, for all of us in this bit of work. I remember being really particularly drawn to the analysis that Reuben and presumably some of the rest of the team did on comparing and contrasting, I guess, the sort of the renewable supply curves for Australia versus other kind of likely locations or the regional trade partners that we'd basically be competing with for that opportunity. So comparing us to China, India, Japan, South Korea, Germany, all these countries projected to face a really substantial shortfall in clean energy around the middle of the century. And because we are such a land-rich, small population country with these incredible resources, they put numbers to all of that, and it was just really compelling. And I think there's early evidence that this is and will continue to be quite an influential piece of work in looking at the kind of scenarios that have been put out with Treasury's modelling with the net zero plan, looking at a sort of renewable exports upside. I think takes some of the thinking from this. So, yeah, I just think a very impressive piece of work, high quality insights. I remember being pretty blown away after reading this report. And, yeah, without wanting to put too many words into your mouth, I remember you too feeling similarly at the time. So hence my bold claim that this is a foregone conclusion and we can just hand the folks at TSI the wonky.
It's a good one. And it's actually an example of one of the nice things that happens doing this podcast, which is coming at an issue from multiple different angles. And we've done that in a few ways this year. There was obviously the flip side of the conversation that we were having around the Woodside essay, which is kind of the incumbent sort of resources sector, is thinking about what some of those emerging economic activities could be, which could provide that graceful segue. The other one I think about is the paper from Tim Buckley on the Asian CBAM and kind of how you would actually sort of start to create that regional carbon constraint that would actually drive some of these industries. And it's actually a real pleasure sort of engaging with these topics from all of these different angles, some of them quite technical, some of them coming at it from an economic perspective, like the quarterly essay really coming at it from a social and political perspective, and much more targeted at a lay audience. And you're able to think your way into the problem and the opportunities from a whole bunch of different angles. I really liked that paper. It's just a very different thing. It's almost hard to compare the quarterly essay and the Superpower Institute intervention because they're fundamentally targeted different audiences. I think having an impact in different ways, many, many more people will have read the quarterly essay, and I think people will have taken things from that. It sort of informs the public debate in a really interesting way. But in terms of the expert community, they're thinking about how to actually engage with the trade opportunities and the relative merits of different opportunities. I think the Superpower Institute's work was kind of seminal in an Australian context.
I agree.
And then way back in the pack is abundance, which I don't really understand why it's in this conversation.
Well, graciously looking past that patch of shade, I will say that the New Energy Trade is a wonderful paper.
Yeah.
And in terms of influence, well, it's been pretty influential on me. I'm doing a project over the next 18 months that's basically about filling out one of the or addressing one of the potential constraints to taking up the opportunities that are outlined in this paper. It is a cracker, and one of the things that's so good about it is that it is not just a generic paean to Australia can do so many wonderful things. Let's do wonderful things, Australia. It is laying out the case for a quite specific version of what clean energy superpower Australia might look like, and that's founded in a pretty persuasive view of the economics rather than the sort of, well, we've got lots of stuff here, so we should do more stuff with it view that people have been taking, whatever the technology or global market fundamentals involved for many, many decades without a huge amount of impact. I think this one does have this view, and this paper does have the potential for a much greater real world impact over time. Influence, tick, quality, tick, actually being a paper, tick.
Yeah.
I graciously acknowledge that this is not Abundance's year, except in the sense of book sales and domination of politics and policy. But other than that, not so much. And I will throw my weight behind, such as it is, the New Energy Trade,
Yes.
while tipping my hat to Marianne Wilkinson's fine reportage.
I'm also pretty comfortable with giving the gong to the New Energy Trade.
Damn straight, gentlemen.
It is my great pleasure to announce the 2025 Wonky Award goes to the New Energy Trade, Harnessing Australian Renewables for Global Development by Reuben Finighan from the Superpower Institute. Congratulations, Reuben, and congratulations, Superpower Institute. And congratulations, Frankie.
Wow. There was never any doubt. Who are we fooling? But like in all seriousness, I really do remember this episode really clearly, actually, kind of coming onto it, because we don't often these days really have a lot of pre-chat amongst ourselves on what we thought about it until we're online. And I just remember getting on and feeling really excited to talk about this report, because there was just a lot new and just really fascinating to unpack. So, yeah, well done, Reuben and TSI folks. This is a really great piece of work. And I think we'll look forward to seeing the influence it will continue to have.
And I think after an appropriate period has passed, in which people can catch up with this episode of the podcast, Reuben can look forward to a Mimi trophy appearing on social media on Tennant's account.
Yeah.
Which is
The most coveted prize of all.
all right. Shall we chat about a movie?
Oh, we should.
Has it got anything good in it?
Only every single second.
There are very few films that manage to be endlessly quotable, genuinely romantic, sincerely adventurous, and deeply self-aware all at once. But The Princess Bride somehow pulls out that impossible balancing act. Released in 1987, it was by no means a blockbuster on release, but over time became the kind of film that people connect over, quote endlessly, and pass down to their kids. Indeed, I just completed a rewatch with my kids. All of that and it inspired the name of a certain podcast. Frankie, Tennant, what do you two love about The Princess Bride?
I love everything about this movie. This is one of my favourite movies. Like it's got to be. It's probably my favourite movie. Like, I was trying to think what's competing for top place. It's sort of this and The Labyrinth. Chewy agrees. And I have such a vivid memory of the first time I saw this movie. I was like in primary school on a camp, like a school camp or away, and they had like a movie screening one evening, and I remember like a big packet of snakes being circulated. I just remember being completely sucked into this like universe. I remember instantly falling in love with Cary Elwes. Is that how you say his name?
Yules?
Cary Yules. Everyone knows who we're talking about, presumably, because like I was
Gorgeous
just
floppy
that
hair
age.
guy.
Oh my god, yeah! Like, who is this man, and can I marry him now? And it's just like such a rollicking ride. Like, it's so funny as well. Like, the whole thing is just full of bangers. I mean, you said endlessly quotable, and I have watched this at like every stage of my life ever since, and I still love it. There's just there's no age for which this isn't a good time.
Yes, I agree with that. I love this movie to bits. I first saw this movie in the cinema at the Hoyt Cinema Centre in the Melbourne CBD in 1987. There can't have been that many other people who did that because it did okay in North America, and at least according to the IMDb's data, was barely seen outside of North America. And it was in the smallest theatre in that mini complex, what we thought of as a movie complex in those days. And I also was absolutely entranced. I had no idea what to expect. I don't even know like how it was that I came to be seeing this movie. Maybe my mum thought it was a good idea. And it was absolutely as entrancing and full of adventure and excitement and humour and love and good men and bad men and beautifulest ladies as I could possibly have wanted, if I'd even known that I wanted that, which I discovered that I did. And I've seen it a lot. Like probably many people who are roughly of my generation, there were a great many references to The Princess Bride at my wedding.
Were there?
And there were. There was one speech from one of our beloved friends was more or less entirely a pastiche of Princess Bride references.
So good.
And it was bloody good, I can tell you that. And not only that, throughout my university days, I worked part-time in bookshops, and there was no book I sold more copies of than the original book of The Princess Bride by William Goldman, adapted into this movie by him. If anybody came to the counter with the least degree of uncertainty or questioning in their face as to what they should get for somebody, The Princess Bride was my go-to recommendation in all circumstances. And 90% of the time, they walked away with it and a better life for somebody.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you the first time I saw it. I definitely wasn't at the cinema. That's not a boast that I can make. But it was just in the water, right?
Yeah.
Like, certainly by the time I was 10 or 12, like, had seen it many times. Yes, just It is a good test of character when you just casually drop a Princess Bride quote into a conversation and see if the person's face lights up.
And then it's like, oh, we're going to get along just great. It's funny.
Yeah.
Not like when I meet lovely folks, as we all do in the course of our day jobs who listen to the podcast, not many people know that the podcast is named for a Princess Bride quote. Like,
Indeed.
that seems to not like, so anyway, it's still, I mean, I think we would refer to it as a cult classic, right?
It's also like maybe it's just completely out of context to thinking that a climate and energy podcast would be, take its name from, classic romance swashbuckler, The Princess Bride.
That's true.
I should, while you were talking, I should dig up the list of
Contender.
of potential names,
Yeah.
because it wasn't the only Princess Bride reference we had on the list. We had multiple ones.
Sure.
I remember that a one contender that was knocked out was instead of Reports of Unusual Size, Reports of Unusual Size.
I'm pretty sure that was one of mine. And I think I remember fighting pretty hard for that for a while, and then just thinking that the RAUS's thing might just not catch on the way I'd hope it would.
I love in the movie, and I'd forgotten this, that she refers to them by their acronym first.
That's right. Buttercup, not a vapid skin deep beauty. She's a wonk at
That's
heart.
right. Yeah. She's like, but what about the RAUSs? And then it's Wesley who goes, rodents of unusual size. I don't think they exist. And then proceeds to get tackled by a man wearing a giant rat suit. So good. Oh God, I had forgotten that was in the list, but I still love that. Yup. It was great.
So, Luke, while you search for any other candidates, we should give the quote that is the title. Wesley has just been awoken from, spoiler alert, death by a miracle pill from Miracle Max.
He was only mostly dead, Tennant.
That's true. And there's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead. He opens his eyes, looks at Inigo Montoya, says, "Who are you? Are we enemies? Why am I on this wall? Where is Buttercup?" And Inigo says, "Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Yes.
Buttercup is marry Humperdinck in little less than half an hour. So all we have to do is get in, break up the wedding, steal the princess, make our escape after I kill Count Rugen."
Yep. So good.
And I will stop there.
So good. So good.
And that's furnished us not just with our podcast name, but the name of our bonus episodes.
That's right. Which also, well, anyway, I think if you don't get the first reference, you definitely don't get the second reference, except that I guess we've been saying there is too much on this podcast for a while before we started doing the bonus content that way. But anyway, I love that the origin story of this podcast is rooted in some seriously nerdy pop culture.
Which I mean, this is a slight digression, but we have a huge amount of fun coming up with the titles for our episodes, which are invariably a reference to something pop culture related.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, what percentage of our listeners have any idea what we're talking about with those titles. But also, I'm here for the delight that those handful of listeners that get the reference and, really into it must experience. But I mean, for listeners that are confused about why we're talking about The Princess Bride, if you haven't caught up with the last couple of episodes, we basically, I think, Tennant, you went and looked at episode titles effectively and movies that we had referenced in episode titles. And obviously Princess Bride made it because it's the title of the entire podcast. And there was there was I guess some nails being bitten early in the voting when inexplicably Fury Road was in the lead.
I think, and I mean,
I'm not sure it's so inexplicable, but go on, thank you.
But I remember just being a bit distraught by that because I was looking at the poll and I'm like, how is that? Like, I mean, look, I'm sure the Fury Road is a great movie, but it has no business competing with The Princess Bride. So I was like, I had a moment where I was like, have I like fundamentally misunderstood our listenership? Like, are they seriously going to vote for that movie over this absolute gem of a 80s masterpiece? And then, thank goodness, the troops rallied and you all voted accordingly. I think Princess Bride romped it in.
It comprehensively, definitively did.
Yep.
And it was competing against The Big Lebowski, Die Hard, Gone with the Wind, subject of, among other things, possibly our best bit of post-show content ever.
That's true.
The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, which I believe so Gone with the Wind received 0 votes. The Lord of the Rings, I think, may have received 1 vote. And I'm a bit of a Lord of the Rings stan. So that is painful. Mad Max Fury Road, I think, one of the greatest action films ever made, like probably one of the top 3.
Oh, what?
Oh, that's an
But I haven't
amazing
seen
movie.
it.
Well, that's a shocking revelation and something that needs to be corrected forthwith. But The Princess Bride is a wonderful movie and it's an influential movie. And if by some chance people listening to this podcast have not watched that movie, then just press pause and like go find it. It's widely available and it's very good and not obtrusively long.
It's really not. It's maybe runs a bit over an hour and a half or something. We haven't done any kind of a synopsis of the movie. Like, should we briefly mention what it's about before we dive into like our favorite bits of it?
We're very well structured here.
Just gone straight for the
I love
quotes.
synopses. Yes. Who wants to go first?
I mean, I think like the opening scene is iconic, right?
Yes.
I think it was filmed in parts of like basically in the UK, across England, in different locations. And so you've got Westley, a farmhand, played by Carey. I'm going to say Ewells because I feel like Tennant's going to be more in the know about that than me.
Let's hope.
And Robin Wright. This was her first movie. I'm almost certain it was her first starring role in a movie.
It's her first major movie, yes.
Yeah.
She has some kind of role in a movie made the previous year called Hollywood Vice Squad.
Right.
Rated R.
Okay.
About which I know very little, except I think it was directed by the woman who would later go on to direct Wayne's World.
Oh, that's so random.
What an amazing diversion.
Very random. So the movie opens, they're on a farm, he's a farmhand, and she's bossing him around saying, farm boy, do this, farm boy, do that. And every time she tells him to do something, he stares longingly with his beautiful blue eyes under his...
Like the sea after a storm.
That's right. Under the delicious floppy hair.
It is, and can I just say, it is kind of like fantasy farm with nobody else around. They just get to hang out and make eyes at each other with no interruptions
it's
whatsoever.
Like, I don't know what's actually happening on this farm besides her walking around asking him to fill pitchers of water. It doesn't look like a very functional
When he's done
farm.
looking from behind the floppy hair, what does he say, Frankie?
He says, as you wish. And
so were born about 100 million tattoos.
yeah. Yeah. I'm actually shocked that I don't have any tattoos from this movie. And so, it's this sort of scene setter, and very quickly it gets to the point where, like, they're clearly in love with each other. When he's saying "as you wish," he's really saying "I love you," and then we get a bit of narration that sort of says he's going to go off and kind of make a better kind of means of income for them and come back, and they're going to live happily ever after. But that's not what happens, that he's been kidnapped by a dread pirate Roberts and never heard from again. And then you pretty quickly kind of cut to, what is it, like 10 years later or something like that?
It's 5 years later.
Okay,
Yeah.
5 years later. Robin Wright, whose name is Buttercup, by the way, like, that's just so ridiculous on one level. But yes, Buttercup being the beautiful, I guess, farm owner. Like, there's no other people present on that farm, so I guess she owned it.
The ownership structure of the farm, very unclear.
Yeah.
But in what may be like, at least on the surface, a Princess Mary, common folk plucked from obscurity to into the royal family. All of a sudden, she is like, the betrothed of the evil Prince Humperdinck.
Well, we don't know yet that he's evil. He's merely suspiciously well coiffed.
Yeah. Which is reason enough to think, after you've just seen the deliciously disarrayed, floppy-haired Wesley, like, oh, this guy can't be any good.
But for a newly minted princess, she seems pretty sad about the whole situation.
Right. So it's pretty clear she's never got over the fact that Wesley didn't come back for her. She, of course, doesn't know what happened to him, right? Like, she hears.
Well, I think it says she's heard that he's dead.
Right.
She thinks
Murdered
he's
by
dead.
pirates is good, says adorable Moppet Fred Savage, the grandson, in the framing story.
Oh, that's right.
Where beloved, iconic cinematic grandfather Peter Falk is telling him the story. And Peter Falk, of course, also played iconic TV detective Columbo, and is the source in the Peter Falk expanded cinematic universe of One More Thing, the final segment of our shows here, because everything must be connected at one remove, if need be, to the Princess Bride.
That's right. It's so good. Where were we? So okay.
You're making me lose my place.
Yeah, Princess has got cracked the sads, and she's out riding her horse, looking sad but majestic.
That's the only time she's happy, right? Is when she's out riding through the forest.
True.
But then she comes across three lost circus performers asking for directions.
And are they standing next to each other, like in order of height, right? You've got Fezzik, who is played by Andre the Giant, like an enormous person. Like, he would have, been 7 foot tall or something? Like,
I think 7'8".
Wild. Absolutely huge.
550 pounds in his prime.
Oh my God.
Just to jump ahead a little bit, like when Wesley has his arms around him and you see their heads next to each other,
Yeah.
like the scale difference is kind of wild.
It's like an
right?
orange and a watermelon. It's just like these two things can't be compared. So you got Fezzik, who is played by Andre the Giant, who I think he was like a professional wrestler in real life.
He was the most famous wrestler in the world for some time.
Okay, there you go. This was
before you were born, Frankie.
And given that, gives an amazing and very charming performance. Like, he's just so great.
Delightful.
And so likeable.
Like a gentle giant.
And now something a little aside about Andre the Giant from William Goldman, the screenwriter and author of the original novel, from his wonderful second book about screenwriting, Which Lie Did I Tell? He recounts a story told to him by an actor who had been out to dinner several times with Andre the Giant and said that the rule was when Andre invited you out to dinner, he paid. And when you invited him out to dinner, he still paid. And after several of these dinners, towards the end of one, this actor snuck away to go into the kitchen to try and give his own credit card to the maitre d', only to find a pair of enormous arms coming around him from behind and lifting him bodily into the air like a child, turning him around, and Andre saying, "I pay." That actor's name, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What?
Schwarzenegger said, yes, he was very strong.
Oh, my God. That's wild. Well, and sort of only like more striking given the company he's keeping in this movie in one sense as well, because I guess at the other end of the line, you've got Vizzini, a Sicilian evil mastermind, let's say, played by Wallace Shawn, who's also like a pretty well-known actor of the time. I don't know.
And son of longtime editor of The New Yorker, William Shawn, and star of the Two Guys Have a Conversation Over Dinner, and That's the Movie, My Dinner with Andre, subject to one of my favourite throwaway jokes in the entire run of The Simpsons, where Martin Prince is seen playing a My Dinner with Andre arcade game.
Oh, that's great.
And hammering the button for Bon Mo.
That's so great. Oh, my God. That's so great.
So these carnies aren't what they seem, though, Frankie.
They are not. The other one we hadn't mentioned yet is a Spanish swordsman in the middle, Inigo Montoya, who gives probably, we'd have to say, like the most memorable quote from the whole movie, even though there is...
That's a big call. They're very good quotes, but that's a big call.
Okay, it's a big call. It's funny, though, that maybe one of them...
You're no stranger to making big calls.
Well, it's paid off so far. Let's see how we go. Anyway.
Onward.
So, they're there. They are not Lost Circus performers. This Sicilian evil mastermind wants to kidnap Buttercup, and in doing so, make it look like she's been kidnapped by people from the neighbouring country, right?
Yeah.
Yep. To start a war. So he's basically doing it to provoke a war between Gilda and what's the name of the land that they live in? Florin. That's right. And so anyway, so they take her off. And then and they're like, oh my God, there's like so much fun stuff happens while they're kidnapping her, but we shouldn't track back over it. Like there's like shrieking eels, there's all kinds of stuff. There's a giant rock face that they've got to climb up, and the
cliffs of insanity.
The cliffs of insanity. And at that point, somebody is chasing them. They've realised that they're not alone, and there is a black-clothed, masked figure that's chasing after them, and they don't know who it is. And so, I don't know, like, I feel like I don't have to narrate the whole story. I totally could with quotes because I've watched this movie that many times. But what happens after the three randos and Buttercup get to the top of the cliffs of insanity?
Well, I think the important thing to say is that Vizzini has this kind of diabolical plan to kill Buttercup, but Fezzik and Inigo kind of find out about it like after they've kidnapped her and are not on board for killing the princess thing. And so there's a very early sign that these, like, they might be questionable characters, but they've actually got hearts of gold, and kind of sets them up as part of the super team up with Wesley later on. And then in his pursuit of Buttercup, he's clearly trying to save her, but along the way forms like relationships with Inigo and Fezzik, and kind of like, and impresses them to the degree that, you know, they actively pursue him for his help later on in the movie.
And a critical thing here, which is more explicit and prominent in the book, which I may return to, may being very much will, is that Fezzik is the strongest man in the world, and Inigo is, or at least thinks he is, the greatest sword fighter in the world, and Vizzini is, or thinks he is, the smartest man in the world. And in the course of his pursuit, the Man in Black defeats them all in sword fighting, in wrestling, and in a battle of wits, establishing himself as the most ultimately accomplished swashbuckling hero that could possibly be imagined. Does that make him a Mary Sue in the language of modern fandom? I don't know, but he's pretty fun.
I mean, he basically just strangles Fezzik until he keels over, which I guess is a strategy, but that is not really a test of strength.
It's not, but it's about
and in
smarts.
terms of his,
like he's like a tenth of the size of this guy. Like, he's got to figure out how he can get any kind of leverage over him.
The battle of wits is really just a trick.
That's true.
having previously developed resistance to this poison, and therefore being in a position to poison both goblets. I mean, yes, that's a bit of a
do wonder to the extent
blind alley for Vizzini.
Sure, but like, surely it's just a plot device to give him a chance to say some like hilarious stuff before he keels over and dies.
He may be a Mary Sue. He's also a Sookie ex-boyfriend.
Yes, he is. He is. There are some gender politics problems with this
There
movie.
definitely are. There was one line, oh my God. It was like about
I know the one.
It was about she says something, and it's kind of because she doesn't know it's Wesley, like the Man in Black, who's come to save her, although she doesn't know that yet, is her true love. And so she's insulting him. She says something, and then he's raised his hand at her and almost like whacks her across the face. I can't remember what she said. It really doesn't. And then he said, "Careful, Highness," or something. "From where I come from, there are penalties when a woman lies," or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, yikes. I think the balance of the movie ages remarkably well, but that is a total clanger that really stands out in opposition. Yeah.
Yes. Now, he's angry as a Sookie ex-boyfriend because Buttercup has not been faithful to his memory despite believing her dead for 5 years, and has allowed herself to be affianced to the most powerful man in the kingdom.
And despite having apparently like a large degree of autonomy on how he spends his time over the 5 years, has neglected to share that information with her in any way, shape, or form.
They couldn't write a letter. I'm alive. Don't worry about me. Like, it might take me a little while to get back to you, but
pining away on the farm, right?
Yeah.
Like, awaiting his triumphant return.
The duty of the ultimate swashbuckler is to arrive just in the very nick of time, it would appear. And that is much more important than telling the love of your life that you still exist.
Oh my gosh. Well, I like that she without knowing who he is yet, like tackles him and decides to like roll down a mountain to presumably both of their deaths or something. Because at this point she still doesn't think she's got much left to live for. And then we go into like a scene that's, I mean, I think this is one of the more iconic. There's so many iconic scenes in this movie, but the fire swamp is like one of my favourites, where they roll to the bottom of the hill. In having rolled down, his mask is flown off, and she's like, oh, and actually while he's rolling down the hill, he's yelling out while being bumped, like, as you wish. And she's like, oh.
Which is when she realises,
what have I done?
and she leaps after him.
That's right. Oh yeah, you're right. She pushes him down the mountain. Sorry, for some reason I remember, like, my memory was like she tackled him and they rolled together. No, she just pushed him down, and then rolled after him when she realised that it was her true love. And then at the bottom, they're like, "Oh, it's all very kissy kissy. I've missed you so much. What's going on?" kind of thing. Where have you been?
To Fred Savage's dismay.
That's right.
At that point of the movie,
second kiss.
He kind of acclimatises to the kissing over the course of the film.
And then he talks about the fact that he's had actually a pretty great time while he was kidnapped by pirates, because he learned all these like cool swashbuckling sword fighting skills and poison immunity and God knows what else, pillaging and plundering. And all looks very impressive because his, shirt's torn a bit, and, his hair's even floppier than usual after a ride down the mountain. But they're still on the run. So they've got to navigate this swamp that they've landed at the base of, which is filled with all kinds of fun stuff.
Oh, we should say, the tension has, in terms of the kidnappers, has been dispersed because they've all been dispatched in various ways. But Humperdinck is hot on their trail, right? Yes. So they are forced into the fire swamp.
They are. And he's like, his shtick is that he's he's a tracker. Like, he's sort of the best at that.
Yes. The best royal tracker we will see on screen until 2001, when Aragorn, son of Arathorn, enters the picture. But go on.
Buttercup is concerned about entering the fire swamp. She says, we'll never survive. And Wesley's like, nonsense. You're only saying that because no one ever has.
This is another one of my favourite lines from this movie. So good. And so they go into the swamp, and the first thing that happens is like a plume of fire kind of springs up out of nowhere. These little things belch up fire after some clicking sounds are made. And so they figure out how to navigate that fast enough. And again, it's like the thing that... I mean, I get it, but the thing that irritated me about, like, Wesley, like, literally bodily picking her up and moving Buttercup out of the way of the plume of fire, which is always where she's standing, is like, she could have just jumped to the side. Like anyway.
Yes. As my partner said only this morning, Buttercup is very nearly just a MacGuffin in this movie, and an object to be pursued and fought over by various forces. She doesn't get to do a lot of stuff herself, but she does get to do a little bit, like her agency in pushing Wesley down the hill and condemning them both to the fire swamp.
That's right. But
and another moment of agency is coming up.
That's right. That's close to the extent of it. What else do they contend with? There's a quicksand that they fall into, this like belching pond of quicksand that she goes in first, and he's got to dive in after her, and they come out of that okay, gasping, and then we've already referred to this. At that point, Buttercup's asking about, well, what about the ROUSs? And that's which is so good. And then Wesley goes, rodents of unusual size? I don't think they exist. And like at that split second, what is almost certainly a man wearing a giant rat costume, like just pounces on top of Wesley. And it's like, it's pretty gnarly looking like mouth.
Yeah, I can report my 8-year-old daughter pretty freaked out by that scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like, it was a lot.
One of my complaints with this movie, like insofar as I have any, is that parts of it had to be filmed on a soundstage, and the fire swamp is the soundstagiest of those scenes. If anybody felt like Dagobah, the swamp planet in The Empire Strikes Back, felt a bit like a wet soundstage, this is a smaller budget movie than that.
Yep.
And so whether it is people in rat suits or suspiciously well-arranged hanging vines, this is the least cinematic piece of this movie, even if it is indeed very memorable.
I love the scene, the battle or the sword fight between Dread Roberts and Ego, but the transition from the external sort of cliff work that they're doing onto the soundstage where they're actually having
the sword fight,
the duel, yeah, like that gets me every time. It's very obvious that they've moved inside and are now hanging out on a soundstage.
So great, though.
When I watched it most recently, it was the first time since 1987 that I had watched it in very high resolution.
Mm-hmm.
All the times in between were on VHS, remember that, or on DVD, and it doesn't look very cinematic on those formats. And this time I streamed it in high res on a big screen, and it looked great. And the bits that looked the greatest were shot in real places by and large. But it is a much more cinematic movie than I had remembered it being for some time.
They managed to navigate all of these challenges, even the ROUSs, and stumble out of the fire swamp triumphant. But then what happens, Frankie?
Well, Humperdinck's waiting for them, so they've just, I guess they've taken a little long to dispatch the giant rats and deal with the fire and all of that. And so you've got Humperdinck and all his heavies, including an important side character called Count Rugen, who, amongst his quirks, has 6 fingers on one of his hands and is the reason we know that he is the man who killed Inigo Montoya's father a long time ago, thus creating basically his kind of plot arc, if you like. Like, he's driven by this sense of wanting to revenge his father's killing all that time ago when he was a little boy, because I think he was killed in front of him. And all he knows... Inigo
only works for Vizzini to pay the bills. There's not a lot of money in revenge.
That's right.
Humperdinck rolls in with his heavies and says, "Surrender." And Wesley's like, "No. You mean you wish to surrender to me?" "Very well, I accept." While surrounded by, many troops.
And Buttercup sees just how many troops they are surrounded by, which Wesley does not, and therefore makes her second choice of the movie.
She says, "Take me. I'll come with you if you let him go unharmed," which, of course, Humperdinck says yes to, even though he clearly has no intention of doing that. And I think they knock him out with the butt of a sword. And I think Humperdinck rides off with Buttercup, and then cut to, do we cut straight to then him waking up in that little prison dungeon thing under the tree?
Pit of despair.
The pit of despair.
It's one of my favourite moments.
The pit of despair.
It's one of my favourite moments. This the guy who's like working the pit, as it were, sort of leans over him and he's talking in this like super raspy voice, and then he just coughs, and then he's just sounding like a regular English bloke, which is one of my other favourite low-key moments of the movie.
Pit of despair exists for budgetary reasons.
Oh.
In the book, Wesley is confined within Prince Humperdinck's Zoo of Death, a large complex underground where Humperdinck satiates his bloodlust by fighting and hunting various extraordinarily dangerous animals. But they couldn't afford to make a zoo of death in this modestly budgeted movie, so they had a pit of despair instead.
It just got two big suction cups that go on either side of his head. Some wheels crank. There's a little water wheel, and that's meant to suck life out of a person.
The machine, yeah.
And so, like from here on out, though, I feel like, I don't know. My favourite parts of the movie are mostly in that first half.
Ah, come on. Miracle Max.
There is still
Come
lots
on.
of okay. There are really good nuggets. I guess for mine, like the stuff that I tend to think about more is that kind of front
it
part
kind
of
of
the
like
movie, if
it
you
actually
like.
the movie speeds up, I think, like in
It
the back
does.
half, and it becomes more like the rollicking adventure. You sort of all the characters are established, all their motivations are established, and it kind of you end up on that last day of the wedding day where everything needs to get resolved. Where it's a little bit more. There's a bit more space for it to breathe earlier in the movie, and it's a bit more whimsical, I think. So there's definitely that tone shift, and it is probably once they get through the fire swamp. And Inigo effectively becomes the main character for a while because Wesley is out of action for a good, 25 minutes.
Well, they use the machine on him.
Yeah.
They think he's dead. Asterix on that.
And why do they use the machine on him all the way up to 50? Because our heroine Buttercup provoked Humperdinck so much that in a fit of wounded masculinity, he races off to complain at a captive Wesley that Buttercup truly loves him, and that therefore nobody will suffer as badly as him by being insta-killed or almost insta-killed, which he is. So yes, he's got a serious cramp in his style for most of the rest of the movie.
To be clear, Tennant, he's only mostly dead.
And there's a big difference between mostly dead
And all dead.
and all dead.
And so
Mostly dead is slightly alive.
So then from here on out, we go on a couple of little tracks. Like we've got, as you say, Luke, like Inigo's like main man here, but he's kind of on his own little journey of despair. He's sort of super drunk, wallowing away. I think Fezzik has to come find him and rouse him into being and things like that. Fezzik spotted they know the six-fingered man exists, and Fezzik is sort of rousing up Inigo because he's like, I know where the guy who killed your dad is at. And to get at him, they need to be, getting into the castle where all the action is going down. Buttercup's about to get married to Prince Humperdinck. Oh, Tennant, I really hope you're going to do the voice of the priest because it like they actually get to the wedding. So like that's kind of all happening while Wesley's out of action, mostly dead. And then there's this like very bizarre wedding scene in the castle.
Presided over by Peter Cook, famous English satirist, humorist, and alcoholic, who I think to anybody younger than 46 is known exclusively and entirely from this one scene in this one movie. Despite all the rest of his consequential career. So tough luck, Peter Cook.
Yeah.
But he is indeed very, very memorable as he says, marriage. Marriage is what bring both together today. Marriage, that weapon arrangement, that dream within a dream.
Marriage is what brings us together today.
What?
Oh, it's just so good.
And I like how he's credited at the end of the movie as the impressive clergyman.
Yes. It's just so good. So good.
We need to backtrack, right? Because at the time of the wedding, they're actually storming the castle with like their giant Trojan horse, Dread Pirate Roberts. So, but by that point, Wesley's been revived. But who has he been revived by, Frankie?
Well, what do you do with a mostly dead person? You need a miracle to bring them back to life. So Inigo and Fezzik take Wesley to Miracle Max to get a miracle pill, and Miracle Max is played by a heavily make-upped and prostheticized Billy Crystal, who was a big deal at that time.
And he's having a huge amount of fun.
Oh my God, yes. I think Rob Reiner lets him improvise quite a lot of his lines.
A little bit. If you read the book, which I'm still selling 20 years later, you will find the vast bulk of Miracle Max's lines and those of Valerie, his witch/wife, are in there in very close to the form they appear in the movie.
Oh,
but he's a lot of fun.
So much
this
fun.
This is an ethnic comedy character. This is the archetypal sort of cranky, know-it-all, elderly Jewish man who is just Catskill resorts routining his way through the role of being the retired, forcibly retired, fired by Humperdinck miracle man to the king, who is called back for one last job.
Just when he says, there's so many good lines. This isn't even the one that I put in the show notes. When he says his wife comes out and he says, "Get back, witch." And he said, "I'm not a witch, I'm your wife."
I'm a witch, I'm your wife. Oh, so
You've never had it so good.
yeah.
Oh my God.
So good.
So
Yeah.
good.
And
Don't rush a miracle man. You know what you get?
rotten miracles. So good.
Hang on, I've got to give my my nominal favourite quote from this
So
scene.
great.
They're all just bangers. True love is the greatest thing in the world, except for a nice MLT. A mutton, lettuce and tomato sandwich where the mutton is nice and lean and the tomatoes are ripe. They're so perky. Clearly improvised. No one would ever write that line.
I think
it
that's
doesn't
correct, but I will just, while
They're
we're
so perky.
speaking, check that scene. I think that is, in fact, completely improvised. No, what he says in the book is, Sonny, don't you tell me what's worthwhile. True love is the best thing in the world, except for cough drops. Everybody knows that.
MLT, much better.
And then there's the whole, the actual storming of the castle, which is this sort of contrived, Fezzik gets on a giant wheelbarrow, basically, and they dress him up in a big robe to make him look like the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Which this is so compressed in this bit. It really makes no sense at all. There's a little more to how they put it all together in the book. But things need to move very fast at this point, and they do.
So they get into the castle because everyone's completely freaked out by this, 20-foot high, on fire person saying nasty things about how I'm going to kill you all and all this sort of stuff. They get in. And then it's all kind of very chaotic, right? Wesley is alive, but sort of has no functional use of his body. He's being wheeled around or kind of dragged
just
around
propped
by
up on a suit of armour.
That's it. By whoever's kind of handy.
Because it would be better than just lying him on the floor. Is like instead of carrying him around yourself, is to give him to a suit of armour to carry.
So good. So you just wait here. Inigo gets completely distracted because he finds Count Rugen and he's like, I'm going to go avenge my father. See you later.
Well, for him, that's the main reason he's there, right?
That's his,
Buttercup is kind of like...
And he delivers the revenge speech that he has been saving up for 20 years to Count Rugen. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And Count Rugen, played by Christopher Guest, who is pretty wonderfully cold and slimy and a hate sink in this movie, despite his many wonderful features in other movies and I guess as a person. Count Rugen then does not participate in the climax of this revenge story. He does the sensible thing when somebody delivers a speech like that to you. He runs away.
This is the pairing, the movie pairing. I would put this in, and it's kind of like opposite situations. Is like where the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where there is that very impressive swordsman that kind of does this amazing sort of flourishing, very threatening act of swordplay in Harrison Ford's direction, and then Indiana Jones just takes out his gun and shoots him. Just not what you're expecting, but therefore utterly delightful.
Indeed.
It's so great.
Apparently the reason that happened is there was supposed to be an extensive sword fight. Harrison Ford was sick. And he was trying to find a way of getting out of it. And he said to Spielberg, I've got a gun. Why don't I just shoot him?
Oh my God.
and that clearly struck Steven Spielberg as quite amusing. So they went with it.
Oh, that's so good. So then Inigo's chasing Count Rugen. They face off. And then it's awful because obviously he's been a coward and run away, but he's got the advantage of then knowing when Inigo's going to come running through the door after him. And then you get this gut punch watching Inigo have a dagger thrown across the room into his gut.
Yep.
And you're like, oh no, so close to avenging your dad and yet so far. And he's sort of slumps to the floor. You think it's all over.
You've been chasing me 20 years only to fail now. Do you think that's the worst thing I've ever heard? How wonderful.
I know. God, he's just so evil and so good. And then Inigo just has a run at him. He gets up. He's like, I've got to get this done. And he gets up and he basically then just starts repeating that phrase over and over again with increasing, intensity. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And gets stabbed a couple more times in the shoulders, I think. It's pretty brutal.
While he's holding his guts in place with his left hand.
It functions as an incantation in the movie where he gets to regain his strength and complete his revenge quest.
That's right.
And by the end of the movie, he's basically
Yeah,
fine.
somehow jumps out of a third-story window onto a horse and rides off into the sunset with the rest of them, looking just fine.
Contemplating his new career as the Dread Pirate
right.
Roberts.
But it's pretty great. He runs him through, and at this point, Count Rugen's like, "I'll give you anything you want, money, power, whatever." And then Inigo goes, "I want my father back, you son of a bitch." As he runs him through, so satisfying. Justice has been served in that moment. And then somewhere else in the building, Buttercup finds Wesley, and that feels like the less kind of climactic bit of the movie. Like, they find each other, and that's mostly all good.
Well, yeah, and I guess to the degree that there's a climax, it is a moment of Wesley needing to convince Humperdinck that he's a much bigger threat than he actually is in that moment, and so it is another opportunity for wordplay and deception. Mirroring some of the exchanges from earlier in the movie, but it's sort of not. It doesn't have the same level of tension.
No, they're pretty close to home and hosed, and they're all going to end up happily ever after. Which, like, they get to pretty fast. Like, it does feel like a very kind of rushed end to the movie.
Yeah, especially given how, as I was saying, it's just like. There's a lot of space for everything to breathe in the first 2/3 of the movie, and then those final scenes, they do seem very compressed.
I do. I wonder if there's any. I haven't read any writing about the production of the movie, but whether they ran into budget constraints, like Tenet. Is there a lot of plot missing from the book at that end, or?
Well, so. There's a fun but extended story about this. Because the book has a somewhat different framing device to the movie. The framing device for the movie is tiny Fred Savage is sick and his granddad is reading him a story. The book starts with an introduction by, quote unquote, William Goldman saying, "This is my favorite book in all the world, although I have never read it." And the story that he tells is that when he was sick, his dad used to read him this book, and it awakened in him the love of adventure and the love of writing and led to his career as a writer, but it was only ever read to him. And many years later, when he had a son of his own and his own son was sick, he remembered this book and had his wife buy a copy and give it to their son. And the son bounced right off it, couldn't stand it. And Goldman wondered why. So he picked it up and he read it for the first time and discovered that what he remembered as this rollicking tale of high adventure was actually this unbelievably long and digression-filled Victor Hugo-esque social satire, but that his dad had just read the good bits to him and skipped over all the rest of it.
Oh, my gosh.
And he resolved to write the good bits version, or do an abridgment and produce the good bits version of S. Morgenstern's classic tale of true love and high adventure. Now, in fact, none of that is true. William Goldman made this whole thing up, but it's a very charming framing story. And so to the question of how does it end, well, Goldman has a joke. He gives us an ending that is very rushed and very similar to what winds up being in the movie. And then he gives us, but that is just where his dad chose to finish reading. The ending from Morgenstern goes, from behind them suddenly, closer than they imagined, they could hear the roar of Humperdinck. "Stop them! Cut them off!" They were admittedly startled, but there was no reason for worry. They were on the fastest horses in the kingdom, and the lead was already theirs. However, this was before Inigo's wound reopened, and Wesley relapsed again, and Fezzik took the wrong turn, and Buttercup's horse threw a shoe, and the night behind them was filled with the crescendoing sound of pursuit. And that's it.
Oh.
What?
What?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yikes.
Now, Morgenstern was a satirist, says Goldman. So he left it that way. And my father was, I guess I realised too late, a romantic. So he ended it another way. Well, we got the romantic version in the movie.
No, not sorry about that, actually.
Indeed
No.
not.
I'm interested, like, it is part of the charm, the framing device in the movie, the grandfather and the grandson, and that kind of like, it creates a bridge into the world, which is really lovely, and particularly for like watching it with my kids over the years. It kind of has lowered the skepticism of kind of engaging with this sort of movie, if like to the degree you're like, oh, this is old. And it's a bit, it doesn't seem very cool. But that little interplay between the grandfather and the grandson, I've found has been very effective at breaking down barriers.
Yes.
Up to and including when I was, we were out doing some shopping today and we were discussing the fact we were going to watch this movie. My 8-year-old literally said, "Is there kissing in the movie?" And my 12-year-old thought that was hilarious. And he said, "I know a character in the movie that you're going to love."
Oh, that's so great. Well, my 4-year-old was completely captivated for that. Like, basically that first half of the movie through the fire swamp. He's like, "Is the man in black, like, is he a bad one? What's going on?" What? And trying to make heads or tails of it. But, like, it's like full-on swashbuckling mode, like capable of captivating the attention of a 4-year-old. It's no mean thing. He was loving it, which fills me with hope for his future.
While the broad strokes of it, like the boy gets the girl and the girl gets the boy and the evil people are largely defeated, revenge is executed, like that stuff happens ultimately the way you expect. The pathway that you get there is so random. Like it's just bouncing around all over the place. There are like at critical moments in the movie, it's like if you were watching it the first time, I imagine kind of impossible to predict what is going to happen next, which is, and you know, having seen it a lot of times, you kind of forget that. But it is a very idiosyncratic movie as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think, like, I think this is such a brilliantly cast movie. I mean, particularly, like, yeah, I mean, those sort of key characters, you know, there are some real kind of character tropes being played out here. But Carey Elwes as Wesley, apparently he'd read this book as a young man and, like, had always thought he, like, had loved the role and probably never thought he'd had the chance to play that character. But he was sort of handpicked and, like, to me, like, he's just completely embodies that character so brilliantly, and like just the sarcasm and the wit like that he delivers his lines with is just like what him and the people he interacts with, particularly Mandy Patinkin who plays Inigo, they're just, the chemistry between all the cast is really brilliant, and I just think they're all like really wonderful comic actors that just make a real meal of it. I love it.
I agree. I don't think there's anybody in this movie who isn't doing magnificently iconic work. It is just a very wonderful experience, and I have not seen the loving pandemic era recreation of it, home movie. Have either of you?
I I only have heard of its existence, but I haven't watched it.
Well, further homework for somebody listening to this podcast.
Apparently they got the blessing from Goldman's family to do it, I think. So it's sort of a sanctioned home movie, you can put it that way. And the other kind of thing, I mean, I think it's also significant in a very good way that this movie, unlike so many, has not been remade or redone. And I know that there was some chatter about a remake of this movie. And thank God that hasn't eventuated. I remember seeing a line from Carey, the guy who plays Wesley, on that, saying there is a shortage of perfect movies in this world. It would be a shame to damage this one. So good. You don't need to remake The Princess Bride. What are you thinking, people? Are there any favorite? There are so many good quotes. We've only sort of touched on a smattering of them. Are there any favorites you all have that we haven't said?
when they turn up in the fire swamp and Wesley's like, it's not that bad, and Buttercup's just looking at him going, what the hell are you on? And he says, well, I'm not saying I'd like to build a summer home here, but the trees are actually quite lovely. It's just a classic couple on a road trip moment.
Yeah.
In my house, one of the more quoted quotes is the confrontation between Vizzini, the Sicilian, and the man in black. Vizzini says, I can't compete with you physically, and you're no match for my brains. You're that smart. Let me put it this way. Have you ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates? Yes. Morons.
So good.
I love that Vizzini's just so full of himself, but displays no signs of intelligence through the entirety of the movie.
This is true. This is something I'm unsatisfied with. Fezzik really is the strongest man in the world. Inigo would be the greatest swordsman in the world if it were not for the existence of the man in black. And Vizzini does a bunch of ridiculous pseudo-logical wordplay to try to choose between the alternative cups, which is hilariously convoluted, but not, in fact, a sign of great intellect.
Yeah.
Yes, I always get tickled when they get to the reference to Australia.
Yeah. And it's everything is deadly. Oh, and it's full of criminals.
Oh, no, iocane powder
is
from Australia, which, as we all know, is populated entirely by criminals who are used to not being trusted, as you are not trusted by me. So I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
And then he's like, truly, you have a dizzying insight.
He's just like, what is this guy smoking?
And then Vizzini's like, wait till I get going. Now, where was I? And then he's like, Australia. All right, we've got to wrap this up. Otherwise, we'll just spend the next 2 hours quoting Princess Bride at each other.
So one of my favorite interchanges or scenes that we totally skipped over was the sword fight between Wesley and Inigo at the start. It's such a great, and they have a great chemistry between them. There's some really lovely kind of lines passed between the two of them. And I love this, because they're sort of not making any bones about the fact that they have to kill each other, and they're just sort of talking about it while they're fighting with each other.
It's very much like the sheepdog and the coyote clocking in for their day, battling each other.
So good. Inigo goes, you seem a decent fellow. I hate to kill you. And, Wesley's like, you seem a decent fellow. I hate to die. It's just so good. So good. All right. We should stop. But it's great. So great. I'm really glad we spoke about this movie. We should watch it together sometime.
But Frankie, there's something you don't know. I'm not left-handed.
Well, Luke, there's something you don't know either. I'm
Tell
not
me.
left-handed either. At this point, people who haven't watched the movie are completely lost and like, what are you talking about?
They stopped listening some time
that's
ago,
true,
Frankie.
That's true.
We told them to. We told them to pause and come back.
Well, this has been like a blow by blow, but I love it. I've been here for it. This has been absolutely joyous.
All right, as always, we close up the show with one more thing, in which we all share something that is currently captivating our attention. Frankie, what have you got?
I think in these episodes we tend to do like a pop culture, like that has seemed to be the trend. We do a pop culture one more thing over Christmas, and I have not had that much like opportunity to consume a lot of pop culture. So like the last few nights between Christmas and now, my partner and I have been like getting to watch a bit of TV together at night after the kids go to bed. Anyway, I am the last person to the party, but I've been watching Stranger Things.
Oh, there you go.
Which is like, that's a great thing to be happening upon late in the piece, because there's like a new season out,
Sure.
but I'm like halfway through season 1. Loving it. That's not really a PSA for anyone here, but it's what I got. It's been pretty great, though.
If one hasn't watched Stranger Things, that is good advice.
It's pretty good. I'm loving it so far. Yeah.
Yeah. Season 1 especially has this like Lost Steven Spielberg adaptation of Lost Stephen King novel vibe that later seasons are a little different to that. I enjoyed them greatly. Haven't started the final one yet.
All right, Tennant, what have you got?
Well, look, almost as popular a piece of pop culture as Stranger Things, I wish to promote The Secret History of the Byzantine Empire by Procopius, which...
It's just hit the bestseller list. Tennant.
it's so hot right now. No, I came upon this in a secondhand bookshop and thought I'd have a look at it. And it is, it's actually pretty rollicking so far. This is a history of the reign of the Byzantine Emperor Justinian by a guy whose previous book and next book were absolutely, completely crawling works of Isn't Everything Wonderful? And in this one, which he wrote and hid away and did not intend to be published while he was alive, or at least while Justinian was alive, he says, actually, they're all terrible, and here's all the terrible things that they're doing that have been ruining the Roman Empire. And I don't know how much of it is really true, because it includes some bizarre allegations, especially about Justinian's wife and the wife of Justinian's leading general, which seem like the kinds of things that very creative but highly misogynistic men have been making up for several thousand years. But it's certainly entertaining and has some uncomfortably strong contemporary resonance, as when Procopius writes of Justinian, "For he was both prone to evil doing and easily led astray, both knave and fool, to use a common phrase. He never spoke the truth himself to those he happened to be with, but in everything that he said or did there was always a dishonest purpose. Yet to anyone who wanted to deceive him, he was easy meat. He was by nature an extraordinary mixture of folly and wickedness inseparably blended." Which, if you can think of somebody in today's world to whom that applies, yes, me too.
Yes. We'll leave our listeners to those reflections. What modern political figure that description could apply to.
Otherwise, if you read it, you won't believe and probably shouldn't the bit about the geese. And that's all I'll say about that.
All right. I will lightly skip over the pop culture reference. Again, probably not news to anyone that is a cinephile, but One Battle After Another is freaking brilliant. I have checked. It is still playing in a few cinemas around the place. Not many, but I highly recommend you check out this Paul Thomas Anderson joint. It is just outstanding and rollicking and just propulsive and thought-provoking. Tennant, you and I went to see this a few weeks ago. Pretty great, right?
It was truly excellent. I think that the heroic characters are making some very bad life choices, but it is a wonderful movie. And among all the people in it, like, you can't take your eyes off Sean Penn. What a transfixing weirdo his villain is. It was remarkable. But, like, yes, Benicio del Toro, just a incredible center of calm amidst the total chaos around. And I think it is nice that Leonardo DiCaprio can allow himself to look like a complete useless idiot for the course of a 3-hour movie.
Yes.
Which he does very well.
He does very well. But as foreshadowed, I have examined the history of our text message thread and found the full list of potential names of the podcast that became the Let Me Sum Up podcast. Right. And we'll now do a dramatic reading of them for your listening pleasure. The long list, and this was quite a long list, included Wonk Club, the 2030 Report, the Report, I'm Dreaming of a White Paper, Executive Summary, Spix and Rex, Reading Recommendations, Tabling the Contents, NRG, Nerd Reading Guide.
That's a bad one.
Last Report Tonight. Climate of Beer. Action Items.
Climate of beer?
LOTR.
Can we just backtrack there?
I think the idea was that we would be drinking a beer while discussing the reports.
Oh, boy.
Right.
I don't remember that one. Yikes.
The podcast concept may have been a bit fluid at this point. LOTR, Lord of the Rex, Wonketeers, as foreshadowed, ROUS's Reports of Unusual Size, Summary for Policymakers, the IPCC, the Impromptu Podcast on Climate Change, Mitigation Nation, Minority Report, Marginalia, Grubby Centrists, which would have delighted and infuriated various parts of the listener base if we'd gone down that pathway. Drawdown, Lowdown, Climate Cast, Candid Conversing on Climate Pod, CCCP.
To go from centrism to CCCP in the space of a few titles is a major journey.
Covering our bases, clearly. Yeah.
The Candid Climate Show, or CCS.
Oh, yeah. We had a run of, I remember we had a run of like climate acronyms and then trying to make titles out of those.
Trying to back solve.
Love a backronym.
Consensus of the Climate. Reports on Climate Pod, RCP. This was fun. Chat 10, Planet 1. Merchants of Hope. TL did read. The Green Room and Wonks on Climate. But obviously our favourite on this list, which according to this text message thread was your idea, Tennant. Just let me sum up.
I love it. It's so good. That would have been a lot of scrolling, Luke. I'm impressed.
The search function on iMessage did most of the work. I was helped by the fact that the reports of unusual size that has not been a frequent phrase in our text messages,
Which I'm slightly saddened by, but anyway.
Well, if we need to come up with a new segment so that we can introduce that into the formal continuity of the podcast.
I think I have it, Luke. We can set a timestamp beyond which an episode becomes a recording of unusual size.
We
may be there.
We may
I
just.
think it's time to let people chink their glasses over New Year's, which is imminent at this point.
I agree. What I will say is I want to remind our listeners that we won't do all of the usual spruiking, but I'll remind our listeners that we are doing a summer reading club this year. So I believe the three of us, plus sometime co-host Alison Reeve, will be getting together at some point in January to discuss existential politics, why global climate institutions are failing and how to fix them. Which is pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to explain it again. And that book by Jessica F. Green is probably a challenge to acquire a hard copy, but absolutely available on Kindle for probably too much money. But if you want to read along at home, you have that opportunity.
Oh.
But as one final special gift from our friends at the NemChat Singers, stay listening after the conclusion of this here episode to hear one of the songs they have released reflecting on the year that was in Energyland. It is a lot of fun. So, this podcast was edited by energy professional and podcast tragic Mark Spencer from Here Media Studio. I think we're good. I think that's a year,
That's
gang,
a
right?
year.
I think so. So long, 2025. We hardly knew ye. No, I think we knew 2025 altogether too well.
For Frankie Moskowitz and Lieutenant Reid, I'm Luke Menzel. Thanks for listening. Have a great New Year's, and we will talk to you again in 2026.
Exposed, responsive to the cries. Don't you think I know exactly where I stand? I'm in the integrated system plan. I'm just the best, but not the good queen. Install me out of your sight. I'm just the best, oh lithium me. So don't you dare set me alight. Get plugged in, so many reasons that I can do my thing. You need some FCAS, I can lend a hand, and hit me up if you hit minimum demand. Yeah, I'm just the best, sitting in the park with a painting of a bird on my side. I'm just the best.